screen. So this is, you've got the, anyway, don't worry.
Okay.
And am I looking at you in the,
We are live.
Oh, wow.
So I think we're live on YouTube and Kuumba Nia's Facebook. Oh, evening. I am
Hello there. Hi.
here with the lovely Kuumba Nia. She is a dear friend, soul sister of mine. Actually, she's one of my first ever kind of coaches and mentors. I don't think I've ever told you that before, but you are.
That's lovely to know.
Ever one. And I absolutely love Kumba's work. She is an author, a Reiki master, a transformational speaker, a coach, and a mother, many other wonderful things. And I think what I love about her is, her work is very much about holistic. I never forget her, her saying, remember that expression of, how you do anything is how you do everything. So
Yeah.
you show up in your life, in your business, in your, fortunately or unfortunately, you take yourself with you everywhere you
Everywhere
go.
you go, indeed, yes.
Right? So I would really love this interview to be for you to get a chance to know you, our audience, and whoever watches it in the recordings, to get to know Kuumba Nia and the amazing work she does. So, how are you today, Kuumba? We've had some interesting start, haven't we?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm always frazzled after tech challenges. I think they see me coming and know, but yeah, I'm good. I'm good, thank you.
Excellent. So, I've got some questions for you. So, let's get started with the questions. So, the first thing I wanted to ask you is I know what's special about the way you work and the work you do, but what would you say was special about the work that you do?
Okay, well, I believe that when I work with clients, my focus is very much on bringing the conscious and the unconscious stroke energetic together, so that the awareness that people don't have of the patterns that they display and the baggage that they carry mentally and emotionally, that energetically that can be cleared. So I'm a Reiki master teacher, as we mentioned, and part of what I do is helping people to get to that space whereby they can hear what's coming out of their mouth, they can recognize some of the things in terms of practice, but they can also allow it to be cleared energetically so they feel lighter and more receptive, I guess, to some of the learning that comes.
Yeah. And I think that's so important. I think we had a bit of feedback there. I think that's really important. That's really special for me because I always had them very separate things. My business was my business. My spiritual life is my spiritual life. My, the personal development life is my personal development life. And it's like, wait a second, if I'm all doing the same thing, are they not?
Yeah. It's what I
Where
call
are all the pockets?
the myth of many hats. We feel like
Yes,
we have this one head that we keep putting hats on and off. And the actual truth is that we've only got the one head. And however many hats we put on it, it's still just us. So,
it's still just us. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. That's amazing. So, can you give us a little bit of background about yourself and why you do the work that you do?
Mm. Why do I do the work? Well, ultimately, um, how would I put this? I was going to use a phrase that probably wouldn't sound so good. However, what I would say is that I don't like to be told what to do. Never have done. I'm a free spirit. I left school deciding that I wanted to work in management. Why? Not because I wanted to be a manager. I just didn't want other people telling me what to do. So, all right. So that's always been my reference.
Mhm.
What I have been aware of is that that's not such a bad thing in terms of the perspective to come from, because what it does, it can make me a bit bolshy and a bit reactive sometimes, but what it also does is it makes me aware that I'm responsible for myself. It makes me aware that anything that happens in my life is a consequence of decisions that I make, choices that I make, actions that I take, and ultimately it's all me. And I don't mean that in an egotistical way. I mean that in I consider that I realize myself through source. Like there is this wonderful connection between me as myself and what I call source, creator, spirit, whatever you want to call it. But for me, those two things are connected. And once I am in a space where I'm open to allowing it, then I can decide what it is that I do. And yeah, for me that's important. That was the beginning of everything. And the work that I've gone on to do has been about helping other people realize just how much power they hold, how powerful they are, how much they can determine what goes on in their lives, and make choices that serve them, that allow them to be the best version of themselves, like ultimately they came here to be.
Yeah, I love that. It's about it's a big thing to have that sense of responsibility without blame or judgment.
Mm,
I think
mm.
it took me a while to understand that responsibility didn't have to mean it's your fault.
Yeah, yeah, that's so true. And we live in a society increasingly. It feels like oh, it was Steel Pulse back in the 80s. I don't know if you know Steel Pulse, the reggae band. But they had a track called "I Want to Know Who's Responsible," and responsible is one thing. The ability
Yeah.
to respond is one thing. And I think
Mm,
it's important that we take responsibility and we are able to respond. But it
mm,
seems to have morphed into, so who's to blame? Whose fault is it? Who can I point my finger at? It's nothing to
who
do
can
with
I
me.
be?
It's somebody else's fault. And that, in the short term, in the moment, it can feel good, but actually it's so disempowering. And it
Yeah,
takes
yeah,
away from people. Yeah,
yeah. It takes your power away. I
for
feel. I
sure.
feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so in this journey of developing your work and working with clients, what's been the biggest surprise, or maybe you have several, but what's been some of the biggest surprises on the journey so far?
The biggest surprise in working with clients was the reason I wrote my book. So I have a book called The Circle of One, How to Heal Your Relationships and Live Your Truth. And the book's based on a very simple premise. Everyone and everything around you reflects a facet of you. And the reason I know this, the reason I
Yeah,
know this,
I like it.
terrible. I'd be working with a client and they would come with an issue that was similar to mine, or, not the same, definitely not the same, sometimes the same, of the things that were going on in my life. And I was aware that what I was saying to them was what I should be saying to myself. And I
Oh,
and that's a burn. That's not nice. That is not nice, because what it allows you to do is start to see what your stuff is, but you're seeing it through other people. So that was the biggest surprise, I think, because you start work thinking that you're working with people and
yeah,
you're helping others. And I say to people, especially healers, um, there's nobody that we're healing. We're only healing ourselves. But when you start out, you think, yeah, this is what I'm doing. That's so not the case. The journey is ours, and whilst we can support other people, ultimately we're doing the work on ourselves. If we're honest.
yeah, yeah. If you're honest, yeah. Is it easier, do you think, to see that reflection through someone else, to see those similarities rather than look at it directly for yourself within yourself?
Yeah, I think if you are in a conflict with someone, it's problematic, because what will happen is that you will seek to justify your position and condemn
Right.
theirs. But when you're looking out at someone, and the circle of one is a very simple, very basic method that allows you to see what's going on with the people around you. Um,
Mm.
the reason why I feel it's so powerful is that there is an element of compassion, because when you
Mm.
go through the process, it often involves you pointing the finger at other people. And
Right.
so when you said so and so is this and they're that and actually they're that, and then you go around and you look at somebody else and they're like this and this is what's going on. So the people in your family, the people at work,
Mm.
the people, clients that you meet in your business.
Everybody is just getting on your last nerve.
Yeah, that's because they're being annoying. And guess why they're being annoying? Because you're being annoying. You're not seeing that. And that
Right.
when you see what they're doing and you're able to tease out why they're doing it. In fact, what happens is that people don't tease out why they're doing it. They tease out why they behave the way that they behave. And then they're able, through compassion, to see the other person. But until you get to that point, there is no compassion. There's just defense and justification and the kinds of things that we do when we don't like what's going on and we don't like the people with whom it's going on. So,
Yeah. Yeah. You said they're simple processes, but I think the simplicity of it is the thing that makes it so powerful. Because even if you tried, you couldn't, twist it up and intellectualize it and run away and then you just can't because the truth of it is so simple that it's just like, oh, okay, then fine.
yeah, I
Yeah.
constantly, when I've done groups, the refrain I get is, I don't like this. I don't like this
Yeah,
bit.
I get that. I didn't
This is
like
not the
it.
bit I like because it doesn't say what I want it to say, right? It doesn't
Yeah,
make me out to be the victim or the hero even. It's just, you just
yeah,
show up as you are, and it strips you bare. You get to see yourself, and the truth of it is, none of us really like to look at ourselves too closely. We really don't.
yeah.
Um,
Why is that? As someone who works with people from different backgrounds, you work with healers and coaches and heart-led entrepreneurs. So that's a varying of people with different kinds of experiences. Why do we not like to look at ourselves?
what I find, and I'll speak from my perspective because ultimately, like I said, this is where we start.
Yeah, yeah,
We don't like looking because we don't like seeing what's there. The truth is often very plain and very ugly and very painful. Because in our minds, our ego is designed to protect us, and it's designed to protect our self esteem and make us feel good. And if we
mm,
scratch the surface and really look, we often find we're not quite the way that we thought we were, or we'd like to pretend that we are. And I use the
right.
term pretend because it's a pretense not just for others, it's mostly to ourselves.
For ourselves, yeah.
Yeah. And what's really sad about that is that it's in the space of saying, okay, okay, I get it. I am not who it is that I like to think I am. I'm not who it is who I present to everyone. Who
Mm,
am I? And that
yeah,
question, yeah, that will take you in places you might not necessarily want to
yeah. Yeah. But it can also take you into beautiful places that you would, sometimes in those masks we wear or that version of yourself that you think that everybody wants to see. Um, there's more to it. There's
go.
more to the authentic. Like I love authenticity. I think I would rather, I remember saying to like, even if people aren't very nice, if that's who they authentically are, I appreciate that. Because then
Yeah.
I know where to put myself in that communication or in that relationship or in that, and then also I get to be my authentic self either way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to, change or switch anything up or think, this is who I am authentically, and that will change. That will shift and grow, and
Mm-hmm.
depending what I'm learning, depending how my hormones are today.
Yes, most definitely. Yeah. But just showing up as yourself. And I remember when
Yeah,
I was younger and people used to say, oh, don't worry about it, just be yourself. And whilst it was
yeah,
sarcastic in its
yeah.
intention, it was very true. I used to say, well, I would if I knew who myself was. because I didn't,
Right. Oh,
had no
wow. Yeah.
clue. And I had this
Yeah.
horrible sense of not knowing, but I still had to
Mm.
function in the world, which can be quite
Yeah.
terrifying, quite frankly.
Yeah, I can imagine. And people did you say that all the time? Oh, just to be yourself. Like it was the most natural thing you could do. But you've been telling me for years that there's all these terms and conditions, and now you're saying be myself. How
Exactly,
do I do that?
exactly.
That-
You know,
yeah.
we're socialized through school, through family and
Yeah.
parents, through friends,
Yeah.
to be a certain way, to show up in a
Yeah.
certain way, to present in a certain way.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
you know, when we're anxious and we ask for support, we're told, well, just be yourself. Well, I don't know who that is. And I don't know what that looks like. How the hell? Right? So,
Yeah. That's amazing. So, what would you say is the vision for the future?
the vision for the future, in terms of the work that I'm doing, I'd like the Circle of One to be more prominent and to be out in the world. And for no other reason than I want the go to, I want the default position that we take as human beings to be, so where in my life am I being this way? What's my responsibility? How can I change it? Yeah, I think that's powerful. That's powerful in parenting.
It
It's
really
powerful in
is.
relationships. It's powerful in work because it means if everybody is perceiving from that perspective, a lot of the nonsense that we get up to, a lot of the clashes,
Absolutely,
they're
yes.
done.
It just
They're
wouldn't
done.
happen. Yes,
Yeah,
it just
yeah. So for me, that's something that I'd like to develop more. I'd like to have some more workshops around the Circle of One, which I used to do and I stopped, so that will be forthcoming. And there's a program that I'm developing for a particular group of people. So you mentioned earlier that I work with coaches, creatives, healers, heart-centered entrepreneurs, and authentic leaders, I think, as well. So if you don't fit into any of those categories, but actually what you know is that there's something that is stopping you from being your full self, your showing up in a, whoops, that was interesting, showing up in an authentic way, showing up in the way that actually you know you're meant to be showing up. And by meant, I don't mean according to society. I mean meant according to why you came here. Like what's your purpose on the planet? That particular group of people that I listed have a sense of purpose, have a sense of there's more to my life than just going and coming and and then I drop dead. They know there is a contribution they've come here to make. And so working with that group and helping those kinds of people to get to the essence of that. That's the
excellent.
program that I've developed to work with them because it's what I call becoming fit for purpose,
Oh, I love
becoming
it.
fit for your purpose.
For your
And
purpose.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
and that requires you to look at who you are and how you're showing up, why you are that way, and more importantly, where is it that you want to go? What is your purpose and what do you need to shift in order to get there? And so, if you've been running a business for years and you're not showing up in it the way that you feel you ought to, that's you. If you're a creative and you're not producing what it is that you feel you ought to be producing, that's you. We get to look at what's in the way so you can show up
yeah.
fully and share your gift with the world.
Amazing. Amazing. And I firmly believe that the more of us that live life with and on purpose, whatever that looks like. I don't believe in this grandeur of, we all have to save the world and we all have to save each other and we all have to save somebody. It's like, no, just whatever your piece is, and only you know that, and what that purpose is for you is yours. And it's, and I think that's a really beautiful vision to be able to help people unfold that within themselves and
Mm.
share it, like you said, share it with the world, which is
Yeah.
amazing.
And I like the point that you made because it really isn't about grand gestures and legacy and statues and all that kind of thing. That's really nice if you can do that. That's cool.
Yeah,
But I think my focus is very much on why are you here? What did you come here to do? The people that you impact, even if it's just one other person in your house, even if it's just the people you speak to when you enter a supermarket, or there is something that they gain from you that no other
Yeah.
person could give,
Yeah.
because your experience, your you know your programming from your childhood, everything shows up in who you are and how you present, and more
Yeah.
importantly, the energy that you emit. And
Yeah.
nobody else can do that. Now, I guess what we're talking about is scale. So it's whether you do it on a smaller scale or a bigger scale. In terms of the energy on this planet, in terms of the people on
Yeah.
this planet, it all goes into the same pot.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. No, I absolutely love that. So, before we wrap up our lovely conversation, where can people find you online on social media so that they can stay, they can stay connected? Yes, where can we find you?
You can find me on Facebook under Kuumba Nia. You can find me on Instagram, and I'm Kuumba Nia 1, I think. It's terrible, I should really know these things. You can find me on LinkedIn as Kuumba Nia, and you can find me on the website at www.kumbania.com. So, and
Amazing.
Kuumba, Kuumba is Kuum for mother, BA, N for November, I for India, A for Alpha.com.
Amazing. Thank you both so much. And is there anything that you'd like to add that's maybe in your heart or just popped in your head that you think, oh, I'd love to mention that before we go?
Well, actually, there's something that I'm doing. It came, I said to you about not wanting to do as I was told. Well, it's something that I'm changing. Um, and I know about a couple of months ago, I was given the idea of starting a call. It was going to be an event, and I did the first one in September, and I thought, oh, this is quite good, I like this. And it's evolved. But actually, the event is called In Conversation with Kuumba, and it's every Sunday at 12 noon. Um, and, if you'd like to join us, the conversation is exactly what it is that I've touched on. The things that get in our way, the things that stop us from being who we are authentically. And it's a safe space, it's an honest space where you can talk about what your challenges are. You can also talk about how you've overcome some of them, so that your experience helps other people. Your experience informs, it motivates, it inspires, just lifts other people. And sometimes the things that you think are completely utter disasters can have a different effect and a different impact on others. So that space on a Sunday it's a Zoom call, and whilst it's a group call, it's a space where you can be honest. So we use clips to promote it, to show people, some of the points that have come up. But there is nothing that you say there that if you don't want to share, you don't have to. It will not be shared with the world. It's not that kind of thing. It's really important that the people, I guess the people who resonate with some of the things that I've said, are free to become the best version of themselves that they can be, and feel like if they're not doing that, they can say to somebody else, yeah, this is what's going on with me. I can't show up in the way that I'd like to show up because people are looking to me. People are being led by me, or people are my clients, or people admire my work, and they don't know all the stuff that's going on in my head and the stuff that
Yeah,
gets in my head.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Sorry?
what it
Yeah,
takes for them to show up and do what
yeah,
they do. Yeah,
yeah, for
yeah,
sure. And there is so much BS that goes on. There is so much superficiality. There is so much of people pretending and showing up in ways that aren't real. That aren't real, and they're not real, and they do people a disservice
yeah,
because they feel that they have to live up to something that isn't real. And I think there's a
yeah,
lot of that at the moment. And that's my thing is that I just want people to show up as who they are, as
yeah,
powerfully as they can be. And that starts with
yeah,
knowing yourself. And if it means you know yourself through others, and this call can help, this space is a space that you can be yourself in, and I'm happy to be part of that. So that call in Conversation with Kuumba goes on a Sunday at 12 noon. And if you go to Eventbrite and type in conversation with Kuumba, it'll come up. You get the link and
Amazing.
come join us. I'd love
And
to
come and
see
join. Excellent. I
you.
love that. I think you're what you said about what's going on in the world that we live in. It's so kind of surface level and so superficial a lot of the time. I think it makes other people believe that, oh well, I'm not as slick, or I'm not as
Mhm.
put together, or I'm not as this. And it's like, you don't have to be like anybody else. You just be the best version of you that you can be today, and show up as that, and you will make a difference in someone's life. I think
Yeah.
that's so important. So I love those conversations. I will be there on Sunday.
Oh, I
Yay!
look forward to it. Looking forward to it, my love.
So
Thank you.
thank you very much for your time, Kumba. As always, it's a pleasure to spend time with you, be it virtual or face to face or in whatever capacity. It's always a pleasure to be in your presence. Anyone watching this, please leave your comments, please share. And I think Kumba's message is really important about, be yourself, be holistic. Don't be there trying to separate your hats and your heads, because you only have one head. That used to remind me of my grandfather. You say you have the one pair, you have the one set of feet. Why do you have so many shoes?
Pretty much the same thing. Yes. Yeah.
It's the same
Yeah.
thing. Why? You only need like two good pairs, maybe.
That do the trick. All right.
That do the
Yeah.
trick.
And
Exactly.
if they're the good pair, if they're the one that's fit for purpose, they'll take
Right.
you where you're going. Right. So
There you go. There you go. That's all you need. So thank you again.
thank you.
And we are going to end this broadcast. And I hope whoever is watching the recording enjoys it as much as I did. Good night.
Thank you.